All right, guys, welcome back to our Bible study online. Today, we're going to go ahead and talk about faith and fear. The funny thing about faith and fear is they're both rooted in not knowing. They both are rooted in not knowing the future, not knowing the outcome. Okay? They're both at a place where it allows you to understand that you're not in control. Okay? Now, they might start out the same, but they will always end in different areas. Okay? Faith will always lead you to God because you're relying on Him. And when you rely on Him and understand that He is in control, you'll have peace of mind. You'll understand that you don't have to be in control. Someone much bigger and more and has more power than you and that has the best interest for you is in control. Okay, that's someone that we want to look through. And then at the end of faith is always going to be blessings. It's always going to be understanding. There's always going to be a sense of control and a sense of knowing that God has everything in plan and we don't have to know His plan. Okay, it allows us to rely on Him and just say, okay, God, you're going to take this anxiety, you're going to take all of this, and I know that the best outcome is going to come out of it because that's who you are. All right. Now, fear, on the other hand, is the total opposite. Fear makes you the center of attention. It makes you think about your problems all the time. It makes you God. It makes you want to be in control. So when you're not in control, you start getting anxiety. You start being afraid and scared. So at the end of fear is always going to be destruction, anxiety, timidness, because God didn't make us to be timid. We know that, okay? But fear will cause us to go away from God, but also take our identity away from God. And we'll start to have this self-image problem at the same time, okay? So we want to make sure that we always look at things through faith and not fear. Fear will always cause us to stumble. It'll obviously cause us to panic. We can look at the pandemic that's happening right now, and people are just panicking. And that's like understandable, but it's to a point where it's unhealthy. They start hoarding stuff, and so their needs are greater than the next person's needs, and so that they become the best thing to them. So they stop thinking about their families. They stop thinking about everybody else in the world. They're just worried about themselves because they're looking at this pandemic through fear. And you can look through not just this pandemic, but you can look at your financial needs in life. Like if you look at your financial needs in life through fear, you're always going to be fearful. You're not going to be able to give to the Lord. You're not going to be able to give to people because you're just rooted in fear. Okay. Also, people that have self-identity problems and have problems with self-worth, they're fearful because they're not looking through the lens of faith. They're looking in a fearful state of mind. So that's why they have anxiety. I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but a lot of times what happens is when we start looking at things through a fearful view, we start looking at ourselves that way at the same time. Okay? So we want to make sure that whatever area in our life, we don't want to look at it through fear because it will always lead in destruction. We want to, and it can go relational as well with your parents, your kids, your spouse, anything like that. When you start to look at a situation, a hardship, or anything through fear, then you make yourself the center of attention. You start lashing out at people as well, your bosses, your cousins, whoever it may be. But you allow yourself to be the end-all, be-all in that situation. Okay. Now, on faith, on the other hand, you have to understand that through faith, you don't know, but you know who is in control, and that's God. And when He's in control, we can rest assured that we don't have to know everything. We don't have to know what our next move is going to be. We just have to allow Him to lead us in this situation of uncertainty. We have to rely on Him and continue with His gracious love, and that gracious love will pour out to everybody around us as well, okay? Now we look at this pandemic that we have, and we can see that if we looked at it through faith and know and be smart that yes, it is happening, yes, it is here, but if we rely on God and allow Him to speak to us, and He's already speaking to us, we know what we need to do. We need to stay home. We need to wash our hands. We need to be diligent. Like, that's living in faith right now. He gave us He let us know what we need to do to stop it, and we need to just be diligent in that at the same time. But also, through this whole thing, if we looked at it through faith, we wouldn't have this shortage of things at the same time because everybody would take what they just need for that particular moment and not have to take more than what they need and then we wouldn't have a shortage of toilet paper, hand sanitizer, disinfectant soap, and all that kind of stuff as well. It's because people centered this pandemic around themselves. They stopped looking at their brothers and their sisters and their family, and they start worried about themselves and said, I have to take and take and take, and they forget to give, because God is a loving and giving person. And they stop doing that and they start thinking about themselves. Okay, so we look at this pandemic and say, okay, I'm going to take what I need to be smart and be diligent. Lord, I know that you're in control and you're going to provide that need. Other people have needs as well, so I'm going to go through you, Lord. You're going to provide every need every step of the way. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to be safe. I'm going to do what I need to do and know that you're in control. I can control myself. I can control me, and I know that you're going to provide. At the end, I'm going to have love, I'm going to have joy, I'm going to understand things a little bit better because I don't have to be in control. We can go to Isaiah chapter 43, verse 1. It says, but now this is what the Lord says, who created you, Jacob? Who formed you, Israel? Do not fear, I have redeemed you. I have summoned you by name. You are mine. That's God telling us and telling Jacob and Israel, obviously, that we're not just here to exist. He made us for a purpose, so he knows what's going on. He's here for us. We just have to rely on him. He summoned us by name, so that tells us that he loves us and he knows us. He's telling us to set fear aside because it doesn't produce life at the same time. He says he has redeemed us, okay? And if we go to Psalms chapter 34, verse 4, it says, I sought the Lord and he answered me. He delivered me from all my fears. And so I'm going to end with this. When you find yourself being fearful in any part of your life, whether it's through the pandemic, through its financial, spiritual, physical, relational, whenever you start being fearful in any part of your life, you have to understand that you have to start looking at those situations through faith. Okay, you got to switch your mindset, switch your glasses. You know what I'm talking about? Like, you have to understand that those situations in your life, if you look at them through fear, you're always going to have a fearful mindset over them. And you'll always be in that same mindset because God isn't in control. You're in control. But when you look at those situations in your life through faith, it allows you to stop looking at yourself but looking to God and allowing him to lead you through this pandemic, lead you through your relational problems, lead you through your financial problems, lead you through raising your kids up and all that kind of stuff as well. Like, whatever you're fearful of, you have to allow God to work in there. So you want to switch that, or you want to flip that switch from fear to faith and stop looking at your life through the lens of fear, because it's not going to end well. You want to be able to look through your life through faith, because at the end of faith is always going to have, first of all, it's going to have God right there in front of you, but it's going to end with love, joy, peace, and comfort. And that's what everybody's looking for right now. And I want to continue to encourage you guys to look through life through faith, and that allows us to be smart, and that allows us to go to the Word as well. We want to seek the Lord in time of fear. It doesn't matter what time it is, what we're fearful of. Like I said, through the pandemic and any part of our life, the only way that we're going to be comforted is through the Lord. So seek the Lord when you're fearful in any part of your life, because he's our comforter as well. So we want to encourage you guys to continue sharing these videos and getting them out there. Also, just a reminder, if you want to continue to give faithfully to the church, we'll leave the link down below for you. All you have to do is click on it, and it'll take you to that page as well. And if you guys have any questions, you can reach out to Pastor Joel or myself. And we want to thank you guys once again. We'll see you guys in the next one.